welcome back for another lesson, this time in this series of triads and essential uses of triads. For this lesson we're going to talk about a concept that I like to call triad stacking, or stacks of triads, if you will. It's very, very useful and helps get you across the fretboard in a hurry, and you can also create some very interesting lines with this, as opposed to going up and down the fretboard diatonically. You can actually take certain triad shapes and put them on top of each other, and I'll show you what I mean. And you can come up with some lines that hit on some different harmonies and that. So starting with going back to the first lesson, we talked about just the triad shapes, which were pretty elementary, but if you haven't looked at that, I suggest you look at that video too, because we're going to do this with two different forms. The one form being starting with the root with the second finger, and then the other one starting the root with the first finger. There's two different ways to do it. So, and you can see how they change. And the examples in the PDF, I have our diatonic examples in the key of G major, that you can look at those that go up and down the various positions in G major. So to get to the concept of this, basically what I did is I looked at the fretboard and took these triad shapes and just said, well, what if I started one, let's say, let's take an A minor chord, and we go A, C, E, and then what if we took the next triad shape on the next two strings above that, which would be G major, and then the next one in standard tuning, I remember I'm tuned in fourths, would be an E minor triad. So you'd have A minor, G major, and then you'd have an E minor triad. And the type of harmony that outlines is pretty, I think it's more like you're adding a 6 in there. You're adding a 6 and a 6 and a 9. So if you play that over an A minor chord, you get some different notes in there, note choices, as opposed to just playing a straight minor triad. Like we talked about in the first lesson, just basically taking the root positions and learning them everywhere. Now you can take different shapes and stack them on top of each other. So now, looking at the fretboard, I'm looking at all these different other positions, and then thinking to myself, okay, well, I can do G major, I can do the half diminished, and then a D major. So, and then you can kind of hear how the notes are gonna lead the line in a certain direction. So, in practicing over either a 2-chord vamp or like a static chord vamp, you can use like A minor. I have chord bot set up for A minor 7 to E minor 7, and it's a basic groove. And then really what you do is you just kind of go through those diatonically, the different stack positions in the PDF file, and just do it against the backing track and hear what that sounds like. So the first example. And then going on from there. Improvising, using those as like a springboard, but you want to practice the positions. that's one way of building lines out, by taking that, starting with that particular root note. Now the other form is to take the triad shape that starts with the root position, the root note with your first finger. So we had A minor, this shape, and then we have A minor now being this shape. So you can kind of do lines and see where they fall, but yeah, you can do like an A minor triad here, and then you would do a G major, and then you can do a, let's see, so your E minor would be here. Well, for me it'd be here. So it's, so then you take the shapes and just kind of stack them up this way. So G, B, D. Then you would go F sharp, A, C. And then you would go D, F sharp, A. So in doing that, you really kind of look at the fretboard differently, I think, because you're playing two notes on one string and one note on the next string, and you could look at the whole thing as like an arpeggio. Some people look at it like that, or you could look at it, to me, I think it's better to break things down to the smaller pieces and then put them together, because then you really understand the whole unit. Once you put it all together, you understand where it all came from. So practice the examples in the PDF and work on this stacking concept in some of your solos. I have a backing track, an A minor backing track, which you can use. So you can use G major, or you could use C major. You can transpose them into a different key. It's eventually what you should be doing. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Feel free to email me about this type of concept. Next time we're going to talk about another way of using triad shapes and traveling across the fretboard diagonally, either this way or this way. And we can see what kind of lines we can create with that. So until next time, stay true, stay on fire.